Hey guys, welcome to another Double Tap on YouTube. I am Stephen Scott, and today we're going to talk about public transit and an app that can make it a lot easier. Let's find out about the app. It's called Moovit, and one of the company's reps is here to tell us all about it. Why don't you introduce yourself, Ziv?
Hi, so I'm Ziv Kabareti. I'm the VP Products at Moovit, and I'm located in Israel. Our office is south to Tel Aviv in Israel.
Well, first off, wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for coming on, Ziv. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So tell us, for people who don't know, and I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to have heard of the app Moovit, I imagine, but for those who haven't heard about Moovit, tell us what it is.
So Moovit is the world-leading app helping users or riders across the world to basically navigate in public transportation. We truly believe that, mobility is some kind of a basic human right. And we are here to help and make public transportation more accessible and easier to understand. And we know that this is something that comes with a lot of anxiety and uncertainty. And in different cities of the world, there are, less reliable services or more reliable services. So when you're using an app, this is where the app can tell you how to go from point A to point B, what are the modes of transit that can move you around, when is the relevant mode of transportation is coming to pick you up, and of course, when are you going to arrive to your destination. So this is what we do in a nutshell, in a high level.
And it's interesting to me because, of course, as you say, this is available around the world.
Correct.
So you're feeding into so many different types of services in different places. How do you gather all the information?
So Moovit is accessible or available, in around 3,500 cities. It's more than 110 countries around the globe. We believe, by the way, that we have the most accurate and the richest public transportation repository. So if you are comparing us to different apps, we are much bigger than anybody else in that field. And the way we are able to basically work in so many cities around the globe is, we are connected to various of, feeds that are publicly available, but we also nurture a very unique community. It's very unique to us, a community of people, and we call them Mooviters. These are a group of heroes, basically, in different cities, villages, different countries around the world, and they basically log in to a system where they are basically helping us to add additional information in areas where the information is not publicly available. In fact, this is how we started. If you take Moovit, let's say 10, 11 years ago, where information was at the bare minimum in very few cities, let's say, around the world, and we wanted to expand, we basically tapped into this community and nurtured it and grew it, and they helped us open our service in each cities by basically adding the lines and the schedules and the stop locations and all that from scratch. Think about it as the Wikipedia of public transportation, where everybody can contribute, and there are level of moderations, and people, with different levels of authority may basically rule if this is a good change or not a good change, etc. So it's a mix of official data and curated data coming from a unique community of people who volunteer this information to move it.
Now, of course, we'll talk about the accessibility and, of course, the impact that an app like yours has on the disability community in a moment. But I think more broadly, when you think about the availability of this information, it does encourage more people to use public transit, which, of course, is very much on trend at the moment. Everyone's about being environmental and finding other ways to get to work or get to the shops, get out and about. We're trying to move away from using cars all the time. And I guess apps like yours can contribute to that, right? By providing that information, giving people the knowledge and the comfort to know that their bus is coming, where it will be, or train, or whatever it might be.
Exactly. And not only that, and we feel that if we do it correctly in your own town, that you know how to navigate even sometimes without a map or an app now, But we want that if you do that once, and then you go to another city, another country, you travel around the world, and then you open Moovit in that area where you are basically clueless about, the area, the network of transit. We want to make you a hero at that moment. So once you did that, in your own town, in a area that you feel comfortable, and you have this habit, understanding the traffic, understanding the real-time information, understanding service alerts, all that ecosystem that we work in. Now you transfer or you go to a different cities, a different continent, you open Moovit and you can ride public transportation, usually without any hassle. So that's a skill that we are basically adding to our riders, that if you do it once, you can do it everywhere around the world. If you think about it, it's kind of the Uber mentality. If you was able to catch a ride in Manhattan, you will able to do it in San Francisco or Paris or etc. So we are riding on the same mantra.
It's funny you pick up on Uber, because that's exactly what I did with Uber. And it was funny, actually, I had that moment. I actually call it my Uber moment, because that's exactly what happened to me. I was in a different city, and I just thought for a second, I wonder if I open Uber here, will it be the same Uber that I get at home? And it was, and it used the same account, and it used the same card info. And I guess it just made the whole thing much more pleasurable. It meant that I used the service. And the same applies here. And I must admit, I never gave it much thought. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's not something I gave much thought to. So I guess that Uber moment can become my Moovit moment as well, which I think is kind of cool. I think people might use it, because I travel around the world quite a lot, and oftentimes you land somewhere and you're absolutely right. I'm constantly thinking, where is the next bus? Could I even use the public transport here? Would this be something that would be available? Because it's so foreign, yet, buses, if you know where you live, that the number 6 bus will take you into town or whatever, that's fine. But then you're dropped into another city, and suddenly, you have all these bus numbers and routes and lines. You don't know what places are, where things are. This can be really, really useful. How do you... it must be a lot to deal with, because every city is different. Or do you find that there's actually a commonality among cities, that actually there are similarities? Okay, the bus lines may be different, the numbers are different, but ultimately there's a commonality that makes you able to display that information in an understandable way, wherever you are.
There is a commonality, and some of the habits, let's say, like if you are getting into the rider's brain, are basically the same. I want to get somewhere. I want to know some schedules. I want to understand where is the next or where is the departure stop, where is the arrival stop, etc. But you are right that many cities in many countries are so different in how they organize the data, make it accessible or not accessible. Real-time information sometimes is not available, sometimes it is available, and even payment or paying for that ride can be very, very different when you are traveling in New York versus San Francisco versus Paris, London, or Tel Aviv. The basic notion is you need to pay, but the way you pay, in some areas is by a plastic card, in some areas by, taking your phone, sometimes, scanning a QR or tapping, or different, methods, or all the different discounts and profiling, etc. So this is a big issue for us to deal in different cities or countries. But I would say that, to some degree, this is the Moovit DNA. We understood that basically when we founded the company. We knew that it's not going to be plug and play, that once we connected, let's say, Tel Aviv or Israel to our database, then automatically it's going to be up and running in New York. No. We knew that we needed to do some legwork and find the sources and find the relevant data and connect it to different feed and integrate with different partners and providers, which means that we have kind of a backbone or a framework that is well positioned to connect additional services and add additional cities or countries if it's still relevant. Our biggest markets are pretty kind of covered, and we here and there we're adding small cities in different countries. So we took that into our into our design principle and development principle that, hey, we have a foundation that we need to build on top of that, and integrations and connecting to different providers is our bread and butter. We cannot do it if our ecosystem or our system would be, blocked or walled garden or all that, different, let's say, techniques. And we understood that this is our key, basically, to grow. And we knew that we cannot be, a reliable service or a meaningful service if we only operate in, 10 cities around the world. It doesn't, it's not a good service, basically.
Yeah. I want to ask you, because the data that you get, that you feed into this app in order for it to work, and obviously we can discuss the front end and we will talk about the accessibility, but I want to ask you about the data itself, because I guess since starting this app, as you say, 10, 11 years ago, when right back to the beginning, a lot's changed, or maybe it hasn't. I don't know, because I'm intrigued by this. The data that you get, I guess, comes from the companies that put in the timetable information. That's one thing. But bus tech has got smarter, right? So they have GPS built in now. So you can, and in Moovit, I can tell where the bus is. I can tell how far away the bus is, when it's coming. I can get alerts to that. That's really cool. So that's great. I guess that all helps, but it kind of shines a spotlight here on a huge amount of data that's available, and how bus tech has got smarter as well.
So absolutely, and we see that basically in different layers. There is this kind of what we call the schedule or the static data, which is a schedule that each provider is, let's say in 2024, is basically kind of required by usually governments and cities and public transportation, ministries. They are required to publish this information, but 10 years ago, it was a PDF printed on walls on stops, right? Yeah. So they are still probably doing that, but they are also required to make this information available. But this is the first level, and usually it's not a reliable information because we know that it doesn't take any traffic information into account. So the next level is, this is where the bus tech is actually comes handy in areas, and unfortunately, by the way, it's not that, let's say, popular in all around the world, but let's say in the major cities, buses are well equipped with GPS, and this information travels to the cloud, and those providers and authorities also, again, really depending in the country and the cities, usually those providers are making this information available. So Moovit and any other app, Google Maps, etc., they can tap into this information and make use of it. By the way, we use this information. We also augment that information with traffic and other signals. And then we predict that, if the bus is basically here, it will take 7 minutes for the bus to pick you up in the stops in this junction or this street number, etc. So we make this our own calculation. We don't get this calculation from the bus company. We only get the position of the bus, and we need to figure out and take into account a lot of different signals and understanding and history information, and a lot of AI and machine learning that we are applying in order to enrich this, just one position on the map in order to predict the entire route. And this bus is going to run for the next 2 hours, let's say, for the destination, for the, end destination. We need to make sure that along this, route, and maybe there are, 30 stops for that bus to make. We want to be very accurate when the bus is going to arrive to the stops, because either you are going to onboard it or to depart from it. So it, of course, changes the entire algorithm and calculation of the approximate, time of arrival or approximate time for departure.
That's incredible. I didn't realize that you were doing those calculations yourselves and kind of putting all that work into that on the app side. I kind of thought some of that would be provided too. So that's very interesting to learn about. Let's talk about accessibility, because, for a lot of blind people, we're always looking, like me, looking for an app to use that we can go out and we can, you talked earlier about anxiety going out. I mean, we talk about this on our show all the time. The anxiety of getting over the front door. And a big part of it is making sure we get the bus. We don't want to miss it. If we go to a new place, we want to use the public transport, but we want to know that we've got the information at hand because, in my case, for example, I can't read signs. I can't read any signage that's available, digital or otherwise. Or that PDF, for example, it's just stuck on a bus stop. I can't read any of that. I need it through an app. So you're aware of that, I'm guessing, but how are you developing that to make sure that blind people like me using, say, VoiceOver on an iPhone or TalkBack on an Android phone are getting that information correctly?
Yeah, so I would say that we are working on these domains in basically in several levels. The first level would be basically the UI itself, and we are leveraging as much as we can the phone and the operating system technologies. And you mentioned VoiceOver, TalkBack, enhancing or enlarging the font size and things like that. So whenever our users are getting into accessibility mode in the phone, and you mentioned the VoiceOver, what we do in Moovit is we are adding additional information to be read out to our users. So for example, if you are managing to type your destination to go, and then Moovit will provide you, let's say, 3 routes. If you will see the user interface, you would basically see few icons, right? You will see an icon of a bus and an icon of a person who is walking, and then maybe the digit 5 because you need to walk 5 minutes, and then you will see duration, and you maybe see an abbreviation of that, and you see 34 minutes. So a person who can see this information can do all this logic in the brain and understand and even compare between those routes because you understand, okay, this is an icon of a bus, this is an icon of a person who's walking, etc., etc. However, if a person cannot see, then we understand this is meaningless. If we just gonna let the phone read out the text that I am seeing on my eyes, then it's basically nonsense. But what we do is we are adding additional context and text that is hidden from the person who is seeing this information. But the VoiceOver and the TalkBack would add additional information that makes this information much more understandable. So for example, for these routes that are suggested for you to your destination, we will read out route number 1, take bus 408 from location, the street name, and you need to walk 5 minutes. The duration of this route is 48 minutes, and you will arrive by 12:45 p.m. And then it continue, route number 2, take bus 207, from this to that. So we are adding additional information that is only available when the VoiceOver or TalkBack functionality kicks in. This makes the app really, really helpful, and we've tested it with so many people who have visual impairments, and they told us this is a lifesaver. And by the way, we are even getting insights and input and improvement when we are talking to a group of people with those impairments, and we tell them, hey, just use this app. Tell us what you understand. And somebody tell you know what, in this screen, I didn't understand because the sequence of reading was a bit confusing. So we take that back to our lab and understand why it's confusing. Do we need to do we need to say this information? Do we need to hide it? Do we need to add information? So we are in a constant kind of involvement and iteration to make this product fully accessible to people with visual impairments, but not only that. So, for example, the other level that we work is actually on the data level. So if we know, for example, that stops or vehicles, buses, trains, trams, subways, stations of subways, etc., are accessible for people with, wheelchairs, even, young couple with strollers, then we would point it out in our results in our itineraries, suggested routes, everywhere that we can share this information and can basically tell the rider, hey, if you take this route, note that, bus line, whatever, 500 or this train or this subway are accessible, and there is a special ramp that you can basically, go and be comfortable that you will make it and you will get to your destination. So we have that. We also work with different agencies in different areas of the world, and we made some partnership, for example, in Israel. And I'm sure there are similar services around the world, but in Israel, when you are riding the rails, kind of a long distance rail that, travel for, 2 to 3 hours, you can basically, because it's, run by the government, they are suggesting a service that helping people with disabilities, different disabilities, helping them basically from the kind of, entrance of the terminal, walk them through, literally take them kind of hand by hand, or if they need, walk the wheelchair, and help them on board the relevant car of the train. And what we did in Moovit is basically make this information available. When you are searching for a route and the rail is part of our suggestion, we kind of added a big call to action, say, hey, click here if you need help. And we are basically connecting you directly, kind of smoothly, to a chat information designed and developed by the government that is basically asking you, hey, when do you need your help? Which day, what time? And boom, confirmed. Somebody will wait for you to do that. So different levels of, kind of understanding needs and connecting needs with existing technologies or existing services. This is something that we are very proud of, and every time we have this opportunity to make this connection, we will gladly connect it.
I think that's incredible, and I'm so glad you mentioned all that, because I think oftentimes these don't make the headlines, these parts of the application. We don't know. I mean, like you say, just the voiceover user getting a little bit more information, people getting that information about wheelchair ramps or assistance available at stations. That is so vital, but a lot of people might not even think about that because it's not part of their lives. So the headline is Moovit's a great app, but nobody's really kind of digging into the why, and that's exactly what we're here for, right? We get a chance to open it up and shine the light on it. I want to ask you as well, just finally, about AI, because AI makes, in my mind, information that is already available out there much more understandable, and certainly that's the whole point at the moment of this large language model, this natural language approach to AI, which is, I could say, for example, I want to get a bus tomorrow from here to wherever, and the information can just be presented back to me in a very simple language model. It sounds like you're trying to create that in the app, but does AI make it even better? And is that something you're even considering at this point?
Absolutely. This is something that we are understanding how the world is kind of reshape itself right now. And I can also tell you that this is part of a hackathon that we are organized here several months ago. This came very high in the recommendation of the teams of how to leverage this, even as you mentioned, when you are kind of talking to Moovit and say, hey, take me to 1, 2, 3, 4, and how this information is getting back to you. Is it text only, or is it some combination of a map or something like that? So definitely definitely looking into it. It's not just in the user interface. It's even, we are, you mentioned before information. So we are kind of monitoring a lot of what we called, or what the providers are calling, service alerts. Basically saying, hey, the Piccadilly line in, London, or line Q in Manhattan is going to be, let's say, shut down, or there are service some issues, or the station is closed for the midnight, or different reason. And there are plenty of service alerts all the time. This is part of our of the network kind of DNA. So in many cases, if we let the people, the riders that we cater, read this information, and we usually take this information as is from the providers. We are not, massaging this information because, we don't exactly know.
That's not your job to change it.
Exactly.
It's your job to present it, right?
But then we made an experiment and we took a lot of service alert and we kind of massaged them through kind of generative AI models and engines. And we basically told the engine, kind of, can you make it, just a shorter alert, or can you give us the essence of this alert? Because, it can be a large text with a lot of noise information. But the only information that you need to know is, hey, it's not going to work between 6 to 10.
Shot.
That's it. You don't need all the rest. So that's like another level of sophistication that we are aiming or looking into explore. So and of course all the backend and how to make the model of prediction and the ETAs and all that even more sophisticated, and how to take different insights and indicators from the current situation and the historical usage. So all that is super interesting, and it's of course part of what we do and what we are going to release in the next few months.
Well, I can't wait to keep up to date with it. I'm so excited by it, and I think a lot of people will have learned today a lot more about Moovit than perhaps they knew that it could do, even people who maybe are a regular user. So that's brilliant. And we look forward to see what you do with it in the future.
Very good. And hopefully we talk again and we'll, share some updates from that.
Definitely. Ziv, thank you so much for coming on to Double Tap.
Thank you, Stephen.
So have you tried out Moovit? If you have, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you know about all of these features that are in there? Those specific features that are built in for us voiceover users? That's pretty cool, right? Well, give us your thoughts and comment as always below, or by email, feedback@doubletaponair.com. You can call us the old-fashioned way, 1-877-803-4567. And of course, you can find us across social media as well, and on our website, doubletaponair.com. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Catch you again next time.